let's go over another deck. I was just getting lands out for Ifara, so put these away. Ifara's coming along pretty well, though. It's like everything I have for it right now. So we're gonna go over Merfolk, which is mono blue. So we're gonna do it in order, you know, white, blue, black, red, green. And now we're gonna go over the mono blue deck, which is Kira, the Great Glass Spinner. Kira is flying. She's a 2/2. She costs 3. She's not a Merfolk herself, but this is a staple in the Legacy Merfolk deck, which was a huge deck when I was like in my heyday of Magic. She says that creatures you control, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time, in any turn, counter that spell. So if you try to kill one of my creatures and Kira's on the battlefield, the very first thing that you target it with will be countered. And then you'd have to target it again, the same creature. And that goes for every single creature on the battlefield. So she's really just like a great commander for Merfolk, because I'm playing a lot of creatures and I don't want them to die, right? So let's go over the Merfolk that I have in the deck. As far as 1-drops are concerned, I'm playing quite a few because it is Merfolk. You want to play low-cost creatures that are just like really good value. Kosi's Trickster. Whenever an opponent shuffles his or her library, put a 1/1 counter on him. Super good, just incredibly balanced, really great creature for turn 1. Triton Shorestalker, another 1/1 for 1 that is unblockable. Same with Mistcloak Herald, 1/1 for 1, unblockable. Cursecatcher, kind of a modern Merfolk staple. Sacrifice Cursecatcher, counter target sorcery or instant unless his controller pays 1, so it's like a daze almost. Merfolk Windrobber, flying. Whenever Merfolk Windrobber deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a card. Sacrifice him to draw a card and activate if an opponent has 8 or more cards. So it's a flying 1/1 Merfolk for 1 that makes your opponent mill, which is okay in Commander. It's not like amazing, but it has upside later and it can draw a card. Mistcaller, sacrifice it until end of turn. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile instead. So like decks that cheat out stuff with sneak attack and things like that, or like graveyard reanimation spells, I can just sacrifice this and then make that card disappear. Tideshaper, a 1/1 for 1 that has a kicker cost, and if you kicked it, you can make an opponent have an island instead of their land, and then it gets +1/+1 if an opponent controls an island. So technically it's a 2/2 for 2 with upside. Rishadan Dockhand, which has Island Walk, and it's got the Rishadan Port ability on it, which is just 1 and tap it, and you can tap a land, any land, which is pretty good in Commander because people use, you know, utility lands. 2-drops. So 2-drop is like where you have a lot of your lords, is what they call them. They're Merfolk that make your Merfolk better, and they give them like +1/+1 and stuff. Like these all give +1/+1s to, or not that one. Sorry. Yeah, not that one. So these all give Merfolk +1/+1, and they give them kind of abilities. Like for Hexcatcher, it turns like everything into a Cursecatcher, which is pretty good. Master of the Pearl Trident gives all your Merfolk Island Walk, which there are tons of cards in here that give people Island Walk. This is another one that gives Island Walk. This one is a level up, so at the very beginning of it, it's just a 2/2 for 2, and it does nothing extra. But you can level it up for 1, and then at the very end, you get all your Merfolk have +1/+1, and it's a 4/4. So it can become like really good, and it's a good mana sink later. 2-drop is also where I'm playing quite a few copy guys, which I'm going to use these to copy my lords, like my creatures that make my creatures better. Phantasmal Image is one. This one's a really good one because it's a mana sink, so you can like make it copy this creature or this creature or this creature, and it stays on the battlefield, and you can just keep doing it. And Shapeshifter is actually, it counts as a Merfolk anyway, so not only is it a lord, or is it a Merfolk for 2, but it can become a lord, which is really good. Silvergill Adept, just a really good card, draws you a card when you play him. Stonybrook Banneret makes all of your Merfolk cost less, cost 1 less, which is great considering some of these are like 1 in a blue, so they would just cost blue. Thieving Skydiver lets me go steal an artifact for the kicker X that I pay. So like you play him for 2, you pay 2 more, and I can go get any 2 mana artifact that you have on your battlefield, and I just get to take it, you know? Harbinger of the Tides lets me play him, and if I cast him on, or if I cast him, I can do it with Flash if I pay an extra 2. And then when I put him and he enters the battlefield, I get to bounce a creature you control to your hand. Merfolk Trickster, it ETBs, tap target creature and opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn. So like if you're playing Elesh Norn, which gives a --, I can do that, and then I can get around it for at least a turn. 3 is another place where you find a bunch of lords. These are some more lords. Miro Regery, which whenever you play a Merfolk spell, tap or untap a permanent. So like when I play like single converted mana cost Merfolk, I can play them for blue and untap my island that I used to play it to play another one. Merfolk Sovereign makes a specific Merfolk unblockable, which is really good. And one that I really want to touch on is True Name Nemesis. So True Name Nemesis is like a really interesting card because it enters and you choose a player. You can choose any player that you'd like, and it has protection from that player. This creature can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, or enchanted by anything controlled by that player, which basically means that the only way to get him off the board is to board wipe. So he's one of my favorite cards. Harbinger of the Tides, which is just non-basic lands are islands, which means they lose all of their abilities other than just being an island. So it's like a Blood Moon, but for islands. Drowner of Secrets, which allows me to mill you every time I tap a Merfolk. Pretty cool. Tishana's Tidebinder, which is one that can counter like spells or abilities while being played. So like if I play it and you have an ability on the stack, I can counter the ability. Like if you go to tap for mana with like your creature, I can counter that. Kiora, Rising Tide, just draws cards, a little filter guy. Kopala, which is really good. It gives kind of like this, but you can't even cast them unless you pay the extra 2. So if I have Kopala and Kiora, or Kira on the battlefield, you would have to pay an extra 2. And even if you paid the extra 2 to target a Merfolk, it would still get countered, and then you'd have to pay the extra 2 for the spell as well again. So, just really good. Sylveon, which is like, it's an alternate commander that I could use, and it just gives all of my Merfolk Ward 1, and whenever it attacks, you draw a card. And it's indestructible if you control 2 other Merfolk, which is really good. And then Emperor Mihal, which is another alternate commander, which you just like poop out extra Merfolk guys whenever you play a Merfolk. And I can play Merfolk from the top of my deck, and I can look at the top of my deck at any time. Now we're in the 4 drops. We have Master of Waves, which was a huge part of like how I queued for my first Pro Tour. It used to be a mono blue deck that was just amazing, and it was one of my favorites. Miro Harbinger, which just lets me search for another Merfolk, like if I wanted to go find Master of Waves, because I have a bunch of stuff that costs blue, and I want to play it and just get a bunch of guys, and that's good. Fallow Sage, so like whenever you tap him, you draw a card, and he combos really well with like Drowner of Secrets, because I don't have to actually attack to tap him. I can just tap him to mill to draw, which is super good. Tidal Courier, which is like a look at the top 4, choose all your merfolk and put them into your hand. Amazing. Seafloor Oracle, so this is like Bite and Nathasa, so whenever your merfolk do damage to a player, you draw a card, so it's just really good. Tempest Caller, whenever it enters, it taps all creatures target opponent control. So like if you have a ton of merfolk, you can alpha strike somebody, like you can kill them in one shot. You can actually play your Tempest Caller, tap all his dudes, and then swing out and kill him. Sea Hunter, which is a card from a long time ago. This is a list version, so it's obviously not the old Nemesis card, but it is a card from Nemesis that I used to play quite a bit, and you can search for any merfolk in your deck. It works kind of like the Rebels. And I've got Mist Dancer, which is the last Lord in the deck, and it also has Encore, so you can cast him from your graveyard, which makes him really good. That's why I play him. That's all the creatures. And I've got artifacts. You know, you got your Relic, because I need to be able to counter people that are playing graveyard stuff. Aether Vial, which lets me add a counter to it at the upkeep of every turn. And I can tap it to just flash in a creature with converted mana cost equal to the number of counters, and so you get to add a counter every turn if you'd like. You don't have to. Arcane Signet, because it's always good. Sphere Safe, or Commander Spheres, always good. Progenitor Icon, which you choose merfolk, and then it allows you to like play your merfolk at instant speed, which is really good. Banner of Kinship, which was just an amazing card. Like if you end up playing it and you choose merfolk, creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each fellowship counter, and it enters with the number of fellowship counters for the creatures that you control. So like, let's say I have 6 merfolk, I play this, it gets 6 fellowship counters, all of my merfolk get +6/+6. Pretty good. Obelisk of Erd, which actually has Convoke, so it doesn't cost 6, and I can tap my creatures to cast it. You choose another creature type, creatures you control of that type get +2/+2. So it's like a mini lord on a thing here. Let's go through our enchantments. Counterbalance, which is one of my all-time favorite cards. Counterbalance says that whenever a opponent casts a spell, I may reveal the top card of my library. If it's the same converted mana cost, countered the spell. It counters the spell, which is really awesome. Big fan of that. So Counterbalance is a good one. Deeproot Pilgrimage, so whenever one or more non-token merfolk you control become tapped, make a token, a 1/1 blue merfolk with hexproof. End of turn, untap all merfolk you control. So Miro Commerce is an amazing card. That couples really well with like Drowner of Secrets, which also in turn comes with the Deeproot Pilgrimage. So like if you had Deeproot, Miro Commerce, and Drownyard and like 3 other merfolk, you're constantly tapping merfolk to the Drownyard, making extra merfolk, and they're untapping every turn. Spreading Seas, which is an enchantment land, like an enchant land. So I play it, I target your land, I put it on your land. Your land is now an island. It also replaces itself, so it draws a card. Deeproot Waters, which whenever you cast a merfolk, make a 1/1 blue merfolk with hexproof, which is super good. Frozen in Aether, artifacts and creatures and lands your opponent's control come to play tapped, so it makes them play as slow as I want them to play, which is good for me. Bite Nathasa, which, you know, draws cards, and I can pay and make you alpha strike me, so I can alpha strike you back and kill you. Kindred Discovery, enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, so they don't even have to do damage like they do for Biden, they're just attacking, I draw a card. So it's really good. Reflections of Littjara, I also, you know, enters, choose a creature type, so I choose Merfolk. Whenever you cast a creature of the chosen type or a spell, copy it. So like if I had this on the battlefield and I cast a Lord, like let's say I cast Lord of Atlantis, it would create another copy of Lord of Atlantis, which is awesome. Those are the enchantments. And spells. I don't have a ton of spells in this deck because I don't I don't believe in spells for the Merfolk tribe. Rapid Hybridization is just super good. Negate is incredible. Arcane Denial is great. Flare of Denial, which is a free counter spell. Ensnare, I only use it because it actually has Merfolk in the art, which is really, like, it's big for me. I love that it has Merfolk in the art. I can bounce 2 islands to my hand instead of paying its converted mana cost, and it just taps all creatures like even mine, taps all of them. Flow of Knowledge, which is just really good for like any mono blue deck that has islands. Force of Will. Aquatex Will, which is actually a Merfolk, so if I have the Reflections of Littjara out, it would copy it, and then I put flood counters on lands to make them islands. Distant Melody, which you choose a creature type, draw a card for each of the chosen types. So if like I had like 6 Merfolk, I pay 4, draw 6. And River's Rebuke, which bounces all non-land permanents target player owns. So it's like Cyclonic Rift, but not as rude. I'm not a big fan of Cyclonic Rift. And as far as lands in this deck are concerned, I'm just playing the typical, Rivendell, Halimar Depths, Soaring Cliff, Castle Vantress, Lonely Sandbar, Hall of Storm Giants, and like some random other stuff. But I'm also playing Rishadan Port, so I have 2 ports in the deck, and I can just continue to tap people's lands, and I think that's one of my favorite things. But other than that, that is the Tribe of Merfolk. It's one of my, it's probably my favorite deck that I own, or maybe my second favorite, but it is an awesome deck, and it has a lot of like those like memories of playing cards. Like, I'm playing the Force of Wills, playing Counterbalances, playing Aether Vial, like stuff that really, like getting to play Master of Waves, which is huge for me. Like that's, it's got a lot of those, like, I used to play these cards and they're the feels. So that's probably why it's one of my favorite decks, or it probably is my favorite deck. But yeah, that's Mono Blue Merfolk.